Hello everyone! This is my first attempt of doing a kind of workflow video on how I work while using Inkscape, and I'm going to use this old drawing of mine, old to say in a way because it's only 2 months old or something like that, to show you how did I begin and which steps did I take to make this silly drawing of the DoomSlayer riding a pinky. If you don't know what the hell is this is just a kind of silly fan art based on Doom, the version that was released on 2016. I apologize for my English because I'm Chilean and it's not my native language, but I will try to do my best so you all can understand what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, so let's go to Inkscape. Okay, so I have here a backup version of the file. I sometimes do kind of different version of my work, so I can go back to the original designs or the middle steps to study again how I did it, or just to be safe and if I lose the last version I can redo it again. So in this case I had it here is different from the final version. You can see, for instance, that the there are some imperfections here in the outlines, and the colors are not the same. It's kind of in a way too light, the outlines, but I wanted not to show this necessarily, but to show you this horrible thing I have here. This is almost the first version of what I did. In this particular case, I wanted to show, or wanted to just save my workflow to be able to see how I started, and to say this is the way I work. I start with ugly shapes, maybe the ugliest I could do. And the thing is, I'm not a great artist, I'm not a great designer in any way. I'm just a kind of amateur guy, and it's easier for me to try to convey the shapes, the idea I want to do with very rough polygon paths, and then work it up, instead of trying to do everything with correct proportions or I don't know, details, because I know that it will be a lot of effort and I will kind of suffer in the way. I know that pro artists also do something like that. They don't just go and draw, not every time at least. But this is how I do it. And if you see, these are just polygons. The colors are this one, white and gray, like light gray, more darkish gray, because I don't care about colors at this stage. Okay, I just care about the shape, the idea, the emotion I'm trying to convey. And if you see, there are some things that are very ugly. These two husks are not well positioned in the face of the pinky, but it was a very kind of blind first try to say, okay, I imagine this. And then, as you need to see, I start working with a lot of reference. I have this layer that is the reference layer almost always in my projects, just to see things that could help me create the thing I'm trying to create. So in this case I have crazy cowboys riding bulls. I don't really enjoy this kind of thing, but for the idea it was okay. I don't really like this kind of activity, but I need it. So a lot of picture of riding bulls, cowboys. Also reference to the male body, more reference to the male body, and a lot of Doom references. The pinky demon in different poses, at different lighting, And you need to be careful about that. We'll see in a few moments about the lighting, because colors tend to change because of it. And these references were mostly for to understand the overall shape, the body of this demon. And don't worry about this. This is not a precisely a reference. We'll talk about that. So after that, I started working part by part. I started to make more complex and to define which elements were really necessary to portray the monster. Okay, so in a way, I don't try to do all the details, all the things to be perfect, just the ones that will help you or me to understand what I'm looking at, and to feel it natural. So for instance, this shoulder things, I put it because I figure, oh, they are very conspicuous, so I had to add them to really do a good rendition of the pinky. So then I continued with the DoomSlayer. As you can see, the shape is still not a great shape. It's not a great drawing. This is horrible. Oh, I'm sorry for the language. You can see that this polygon is whatever. It's not symmetrical. It's not in perspective. But the thing is, I needed to I needed to look as it should start looking like, to understand the positioning of the pose of the DoomSlayer. And then I started working on doing a more realistic thing with a tiny arm that is out of proportion. But now the helmet is a little bit more well done. You can see now more details on the pinky. Because I don't know, it was easier for me to do this. The husks are starting to look better, but they are still weirdly positioned. And I started doing some color job, like preliminary color job, to help me separate both shapes and move forward with the work. So more details now on the DoomSlayer. I started correcting some proportions, some shapes, and as this is more of the same, and we are coming here to a more polished version. The arm still kind of weird, but things I in my opinion are looking better. So I'm so sorry. At this point in time, I was more happy with all the path, the shapes, and I started playing with the lighting. So here's where it comes this drawing of mine. This is just an image. It's not a path. If I double click it, I cannot open it. This is because I took a screenshot of one of the preliminary shapes, this one I think, and I went to Photoshop. I work with Photoshop for raster imaging, and try out different kind of lighting. And what I mean by that is I try different sources of light, like in which direction the light will be coming from and with what temperature. So I finally decided for this one. You can see there is a little bit yellowish light, like warm light coming from the right, the upper right, and we have a small ambient light in a very cold tint or hue. So once I had that, I started working with the lighting, and I put this gray square behind my main design to be sure I was working correctly with the dark tones and the light tones. So this is not the final version. Let's go over there. So here it is. I don't have more middle steps in between, but you can see that I did the lighting treatment I was talking about. I didn't make it that warm at the end. The lighting, it is a little bit warm. The shadows are colder, and I changed the overall outline treatment I did. Before this, as you can see, I'm going to change the screen again. The outlines were almost like the stroke paint that you can add to your shapes, but I was working with a base shape to do the outside outline, but it was very, I don't know, dull. So what I did, since this was going to be also seen from far away and not always like big like, hey, look at this, I did a very thick outline, and the internal ones, if there were ones, they were thinner. Not always. I didn't work always with outlines for the thing that I didn't thought they were. It was necessary to really separate from the shape in a way. So the thing I did for that, to change the outlines that way, is not working with the real outlines or the stroke paint, but doing something like before, just working with a base shape, and just went working with dot by dot all the positions. And that's my workflow. This is my first video, so I hope it's not terrible. Also, if you oh my god, okay, that was terrible. Okay, so if you want to know how do I select the colors, or the way I paint, how do I do something or what are my techniques to make this look more three-dimensional, let me know. I will be doing videos about that. I will be doing videos like very basic tutorials for using Inkscape, and I will be doing things like this, just explaining more general concepts and things, and not that are specific on, hey, how you can do this ambient occlusion. But let me know so I can know how to work. Okay. Oh, also, just a tip. While I was working on this, I showed the middle steps to two friends of mine that they know some things about art. One is a very good 3D modeler, and the other one is a professional designer. And since I am a weird creature that is an amateur artist, I usually show them these works and ask for some how to say tips or hints or correction. Also my wife, oh, I'm so sorry. Also my wife had some input, so don't be afraid of asking other people for their opinion. Sometimes their opinion will be maybe not enough in a way. So if maybe someone will have look at this and say, oh, I really like it, but why don't you make this circle purple? It's like, no, because the original is is red. So what are you talking about? And sometimes the hints or the tips may come from a personal taste perspective, but they are all of useful, and it's useful for you to learn how to listen to all these tips and see which one makes more sense to you, and what you can learn from every one of them. So try not to say just, oh, it's just personal opinion. No, just listen to them, try to understand, test it out, and then you can make a decision. So I hope you like this. If you did, please give it a like. If you didn't, please give this video link to anyone you hate, so you can have some revenge, and I still get some likes. So I hope to see you all on the next video.